thank you for tuning into the Ellen Show. Today we have a very special show for you. I will be interviewing Michelangelo, Donatello, Diego di Silo, and Bernini. Here we go. And now who we'll be interviewing is Donatello! So I'm really curious on how you showed the beauty of human nature in your sculptures.
I showed the beauty of human nature by capturing life itself in my sculptures. I gave energy to motionless figures.
How did you create emotion-filled artwork?
I used perspective and reliefs to create depth in my sculptures.
So what kind of technique did you use in your relief?
I used a technique that captures drama and spiritual intensity called non finito.
So how did you create detailed individuals with perfectly constructed proportions?
I used proportions to create figures to be perfect. I used an enormous amount of details and emotions to make my sculptures look real.
So tell me, what really are reliefs?
Reliefs are a technique that is used in sculpting that gives the impression that the material is raised off of the background.
So, where is your work today?
Most of my work is in Florence, but there's an unfinished David in Washington, and my Madonna is in the Boston Museum.
And now for our sculpture presentation, we're going to show you Donatello's St. Mark.
In my St. Mark sculpture, the classical stance and impressive side gave it a breathtaking, heroic aura. My sculpture showed the dawning of a new era by capturing a sense of realism in the way the contrapposto stance is positioned. It is relaxed yet full of energy. St. Mark has more weight positioned on its left leg, and the right leg is bent.
Alright, up next we have the father of the Renaissance. Give it up for Michelangelo! Woo! Thank you for having me. So I think we're all curious to know, how did you show the idea of perfection in your artwork? I've created many sculptures, over 2,000 in fact. However, many are unseen because I'm obsessed with perfection and only showed my best work. How did you bring humanistic ideas into your sculptures? Okay, so I spent a lot of time dissecting the human body to get a better understanding of how it works. I heroically displayed people in my sculptures. So now we are going to show you Michelangelo's David. So now this is no ordinary sculpture. This is the perfect sculpture. So I got this marble from the Pope. The Pope gave me this marble. Now see, every block of stone has a sculpture inside of it, and it's the sculptor's task to discover it. Now the posture I put David in is a heroic posture. It's not a perfect proportion, but it's a sculpture where it literally looks like the sculpture is engaging in battle, or something to make him look heroic. Well, it was truly a pleasure having you on today. Thank you for coming in. Everybody give it up for him. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Up next, we have the one, the only, Diego di Silo. So I know a hot topic on the street is your style. So tell us, how did you create your own style?
Well, as a child, my dad taught me a lot about different kinds of Spanish art, and then when I grew up, I went to Italy and I learned from Michelangelo and Donatello about perfection and how to make figures realistic. And also, I knew about Spanish mudéjar, and I used my own creativity to create a pure and harmonious style, unlike any other.
How did you use your style to portray humanistic emotions realistically?
And the Holy Family was Saints Anne and Joachim. The family had eyes that glanced with the ease and intimacy of a family gathering. Also, this same sculpture depicted a lot of different genders and ages, so it showed my flexibility as an artist. My other sculpture, La Sagrada Familia, or the Holy Family, showed Mary's concerned and loving face when looking at baby Jesus, and also Joseph's beard looked really realistic.
How did you blend religion with your style?
Well, funny story. So, some churches at first didn't really like my work because it was untraditional and not like anything they'd seen before, but eventually they warmed up to it. And so, as I said before, my style emphasized human emotions and realistic features.
And now up next is Diego di Silo's sculpture, La Sagrada Familia.
This is my sculpture, La Sagrada Familia, or the Holy Family. As you can see, Mary has a very loving face as she's looking at baby Jesus. Also, looking over her shoulder is Joseph, and he's looking very concerned. His beard is very realistic as I sculpted it with a special technique. Their faces show how well I could construct emotion on my sculptures.
Alright, well I think that's it. Thank you for coming on today.
Thanks,
See you later.
See ya.
Now introducing one of my favorite people, Bernini! Give it up for him! How did your education as a child help with your experience as a sculptor?
As a child, I got to study behind both Raphael and Michelangelo, and that gave me the opportunity to blend different styles from the Renaissance and create my own style called Baroque. This style caught the sculptures at the peak of the motion to create both drama and tension.
How did you become one of the most respected Baroque sculptors?
Well, I tried to create movement in every one of my sculptures and give an experience to the viewers.
If someone was to come visit Rome today, where would they find your sculptures?
Well, my sculptures can be found all throughout Rome, but mainly in piazzas. I have a lot of fountains. So in Piazza Nirvana, I have the Four Rivers fountain, which is obviously four rivers, and then I have water. The water flowing through it creates a sense of motion, which is always my goal throughout the sculptures. The first fountain I ever created is found in Piazza Barbini, and my David is found in the Bragris Gallery. While most of my sculptures can be found throughout Rome, I have a lot in the Vatican and outside of the Vatican, in like the Piazza right outside the Vatican,
Yep.
and the tomb of Pope Alexander VIII, which was my final sculpture, is inside of the Vatican.
Nice. How did you create emotions in your sculpture?
I showed exactly how the person would have felt. Personally, I believe that David was one of my best. He was loading the slingshot in the sculpture, so before I began sculpting it, I loaded a slingshot and looked in the mirror to see how someone would look while doing that task. Another example is my sculpture where the man had his foot on fire. So I've stuck my foot in fire.
No way!
Yeah! Stuck my foot right in fire.
No, you didn't!
Yes, I did.
Oh my
and I
God.
looked in the mirror to see how it would look while doing that, so I could capture all of the movement and tension during that time of pain.
Dedication. Today on the show, we have a very special treat for you. We actually have Bernini's real sculpture of David. Bernini, please introduce it for us.
Hello. So, this is my sculpture, David. I tried to catch him right in the movement of loading a slingshot as he is doing here. Notice how his mouth is open, because when I loaded a slingshot and watched myself do it, my mouth was open, so that's how I sculpted him. He's moving like forward as if you are loading a slingshot, and he has his satchel on him where he kept the rocks before loading the slingshot. I think our time is up.
You know what? You're right.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
So now we're going to play a little game called Heads Up. Now the objective of the game is to have two people here. One person is going to take the phone or flashcards, whatever you have at home, over their head, putting a vocabulary word or a phrase. And so the person with that on their head has to guess what it is by the other person telling them hints and clues and details about it. Now these are Renaissance-based questions, and they have been mentioned in the interviews.
So it's both a style and a time period. One of our artists created it. Bernini created it.
Baroque.
Yes. Okay, it's a way to sculpt. It's a way of sculpting. One of our artists used it a lot. Donatello used it a lot to make sculptures stick out of the background. It created a lot of emotion and depth into sculptures.
A relief.
Yes. 3 of our artists made it: Donatello, Bernini, and Michelangelo. Michelangelo both made it out of marble, and Donatello made it out of bronze. It was a man holding a slingshot. Bernini showed actions. The other ones he was standing still in. What's the name of the guy?
David.
Yes.
It's the idea that people are the most perfect thing in the nature. The idea that people should be studied. Diego de Silo used it in the church. It was a way that he could be accepted.
Humanistic values.
Yes. It's a technique that captures drama and spiritual intensity.
Non finito.
Yes. It's the word that is used to describe Silo's sculptures, and it shows how he imitated the styles of famous Renaissance artists.
Michelangelo-esque.
Yes.
So the Greeks thought that humans look perfect when they are this, and so Michelangelo made David this.
Nudity?
Yeah. This is Diego de Silo's dad, who taught him all about Spanish sculpture at the time.
Diego de Silo?
Yeah. Oh,
No, this is an Italian word for that they use in the arts for when a figure is standing with most of its weight on one foot.
Contrapposto.
Yeah. Oh, so this is sculpted in a way so that it looks like Michelangelo's hair.
The beard. Joseph's beard on La Sagra Familia? The Holy Family?
Yeah. Yes. So this is a public square where they like display art and sculptures and fountains and restaurants.
Piazza?
And now we're gonna jump into a commercial break.
Go buy a pair of Beats. They work fantastic. And thanks to our sponsors, M and M.